Pokemon Channel is a game that really surprised me. For years, I thought it looked really unique, being like a TV watching game, which is not something you have very often. But I never really jumped into it because what you're doing in the game always seemed a little too dull. You know, you're watching some Pokemon-related programming, occasionally interacting with the screen to answer some trivia questions, and you know that's kind of it when it comes to watching the TV itself. And it seems very fan servicey, and I'm not a Pokemon fan. You know, maybe it leans a little more into like the Pokemon anime if we're gonna get like a bit more narrower on exactly what it's doing. But I'm not a fan of Pokemon, so you know, as cute as some of the ideas here are, I just have no real interest in what's happening on the TV. But I decided to give Pokemon Channel a shot, and when I did, I found it's actually a really neat and fun experience. You just have to play it in the right way, essentially. As I mentioned earlier, the core of this game is watching TV programming, and all this TV programming is centered around, you know, Pokemon in some way. Mostly it's just a Pokemon hosting the show. So like news reports, there's like a sleeping aid channel, the shopping network, game shows, there's an exercise channel if you want to exercise alongside a Pokemon. As I mentioned earlier, I'm just not a big Pokemon fan, so to be honest with you, I just found the shows to be really boring. That's not to say that this concept can't work. I'm a big fan of Tomodachi Life and Tomodachi Collection, so I'm definitely all there for this kind of game. However, you know, I think this tone of the Pokemon series just doesn't really match up with me and my personal interests. So, you know, I've only ever played through two Pokemon games as well, Pokemon Blue and Pokemon White. So I personally just did not care about the content that was on the TV, even if the concepts themselves were fairly cute. However, what I do care about is the little buddy who joins you. So on the first day, a wild Pikachu is just like, hey buddy, scoot on over. I'm gonna watch what's on TV with you. And while the first day, it's not really any different. You know, he more or less is just like, all I wanna do is watch TV. Over time, he begins to, you know, kind of gain more independence from you, and eventually he kind of becomes where the fun of the game is, because as you know, time advances in real time, this game actually tracks through the GameCube's internal clock. You start to unlock not only new TV programming, but also places to go like explore. So you can go into your backyard, and while you're back there, you can watch Pikachu garden. You can go play ball with him in the yard. You also can buy like these tickets to go to various locations. Like I think it's like Viridian Forest. I don't know the other names, but there's like a beach and a snow-top mountain kind of thing. And you can do a variety of little things there, like watch Pikachu fish, play tic-tac-toe. There's like these little weird concerts that happen, things like that. So you just kind of go around the world and, you know, click on anything that's suspicious. Pikachu will go look at it, and then if there's something neat there, it will happen, or Pikachu will just look at you and be like, why are you telling me to go look at this thing, essentially. There's no real depth to this, and to be honest with you, most of the content repeats really often. So when you are interacting with different Pokemon in the world, they ask you like trivia questions, but when you answer them, they're the exact same trivia questions every single day. So, you know, the world basically never changes outside of, or rather the content you interact with never changes. So if you go to the concert the first time, it's largely going to be the same thing the next time. There are some little tiny differences, but largely you are just interacting with the exact same thing every single time. So what ends up happening more is that you focus a little more on Pikachu himself and what he's doing, because he's just kind of like a goofball. So you're just like watching Pikachu kind of run around the environment. He'll do things like pick up like a thing that is clearly not edible, like a flower, and just be like, can I eat this? And if you say no, he gets angry. But if you say yes, he gets happy, and then he eats it and then realizes he can't, and then he's angry again. So it's like kind of like watching a child that you cannot reason with. Like, he's going to eat the flower, and you're just going to have to deal with it at this point. So there's a lot of like little just kind of yes-no things you can do with Pikachu. Sometimes he does crazy things like run out into the ocean and almost drown, and then he comes back and he's just like crying, and you're like, all right, Pikachu, sorry, you almost killed yourself. So it's just like really goofy little interactions like that. He'll just like randomly jump in the screen and bump you and things like that. So it's just like a really cute thing to just watch him run around. It's basically just like babysitting a kid and seeing what weird stuff he'll end up doing. But it's a pretty relaxing experience because of that. And when you start to build that relationship with Pikachu, that actually transitions a little bit into your TV watching with him. He'll want to do things like change the channel, or he'll start interacting with the screen and answering trivia questions, or like randomly buying things. So, you know, the more that he becomes more independent and the more he just kind of messes around with stuff, kind of the funner it gets to kind of watch him like do things, I guess. And while maybe there's a little annoyance there if you're a little precious about like how much money you have and things like that, where like, oh, Pikachu just bought like an 80 coin TV and you're like, oh my god, there's a bunch of money he just got rid of. But for the most part, you know, money in this game is not really precious enough that it's a big deal. So I would say it's less annoying and more of just like a shock when he does it the first time. And so it's just kind of fun to think of like, you know, Pikachu essentially stealing your credit card and buying something off a TV program kind of thing. So it's like a cute little thing, but you know, at the end of the day, there's no real consequences here. It's all just like cosmetic stuff, and anything you need for progression is super, super cheap. The right way to play this game, I think, is just really not treating it as a game itself. Don't pick up this game thinking you're gonna spend 8 hours a day on it. You're not gonna do that. Essentially, get it, put the game in, turn it on, and then just let Pikachu just sit there and watch TV and do what he asks to keep him happy, essentially, and just like kind of keep your eye on him. Again, we're basically babysitting Pikachu here. And then, you know, at the end of the day or at the beginning of your day, whatever you want to do, just do some errands with him. Just go around, you know, interact with the environment, see what's new, and see if you can, like, you know, talk to new Pokemon and do their little trivia question. You get like collectible trading cards from them, things like that fills out a binder. And it's just kind of like this fun little thing that you just kind of pick up and play from time to time, and then just turn it off. Just after like an hour, just turn it off, man. If you were buying this game back when it came out, it probably seemed like a pretty big ripoff if you were thinking about it in the context of like a full-priced video game. But if you look at it more of like a Tamagotchi kind of thing, or like a Pocket Pikachu, I think it's really good fun in that regard. And at the length of like essentially being 7 days worth of content, as long as you watch all the new TV programming, essentially you can just advance each day. Then you know, it's a pretty compact experience in that regard too. It's not like Animal Crossing where you have to spend, you know, essentially a whole year to kind of see everything it offers. 7 days is plenty of time to sit down, interact with pretty much the entire scope of the game, and then just kind of move on with your life. So, little cute fun thing, you know, again, it's not gonna blow your shoes off or anything, but if you're like, this is kind of like a fun little Pocket Pikachu pet simulator kind of thing, I think you'll be really happy with it. Could maybe use a little more like diversity in some of the like things that happened in the game, but overall I think, you know, it's pretty straightforward. Now I will say I don't have a lot of like Pokemon content on my channel to really push you towards. However, I did do a review a long time ago on Spectrum's Origins, which is kind of like an action RPG Pokemon style game. Really awesome. I love Spectrum's Origins. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, I do really like Tomodachi Collection. The original Nintendo DS one is the only one that I've done a review on. Of the fan translation that was done on it, actually. So I have a video for that too if you want to check that one out as well. Otherwise, thank you again for coming. OneControllerPort.com is the website. Basically has a focus on kind of like underappreciated or obscure games for the most part. And I hope to see you here again.
Pika?